An ordinary Englishwoman, Ruth Williams, had no idea that she would marry a prince from an African country. It seemed like their love story would be a fairy tale, but their life turned into a nightmare. And they paid a very high price for their love. Everyone was against them, their families, the church, and even their governments. What terrible challenges did they face? And how did they manage not only to survive, but to change a whole country? Watch the video until the end to learn the details of this legendary love story. Let's begin. The story of Ruth Williams and Seretse Khama was so powerful that in 2016, it was made into a drama movie called A United Kingdom. At that time, this brave couple from different races caused political and diplomatic waves. To the British, it looked like a white girl married a black native. To many Africans, it looked like a prince married a poor white woman who didn't belong there. A prince and a commoner shocked the entire world. Their love story started in post-war England. In 1947, the heir to a faraway African kingdom, Seretse Khama, was studying in England. He was 26 years old and working hard to become a lawyer at Oxford. He dreamed of using his education to lift his country out of poverty. One time, his friends convinced him to go to a dance organised by the London Missionary Society. That's where everything changed. At that same event came 23-year-old Ruth Williams, the daughter of a British officer and a typical middle-class girl. The mid-20th century was a time of strong racial segregation, so there was a huge gap between a black student and a white Englishwoman. Still, Seretse found the courage to ask her to dance, and after that, their fate was sealed. It was love at first sight. They dated for a year and decided to get married. They expected some pushback from racist relatives, but neither Ruth nor Seretse could imagine how serious the resistance would be. Ruth's father said he would never allow his daughter to marry a black man, even if he was a prince and very wealthy. Ruth refused to give up. Her father kicked her out of the house and publicly disowned her. Then Ruth's co-workers found out about her relationship with the African man. She was immediately fired from her job at Lloyd's insurance office, where she worked as a typist. Things were even worse for Prince Seretse. While he was studying in Britain, his country was ruled by a regent, his uncle, Chekedi. The prince's decision to marry a white woman gave the regent a perfect excuse to try and steal power. The regent turned the tribal chiefs of Botswana against Seretse, accusing him of breaking centuries-old traditions. Seretse was told to return home and marry a hand-picked black woman. If he refused, he would lose his right to be king. Even the Anglican Church, the dominant church in Britain and Botswana, spoke out against the marriage. The Union of South Africa, later South Africa, also said it would not accept a marriage between a black prince and a white woman. At that time, even romantic relations between black and white people could lead to jail. The British government feared that the marriage would give more power to the racists in South Africa, and they also pressured Seretse to give up Ruth. British Prime Minister Clement Attlee personally asked him to end the relationship. But the young couple stood strong and ignored all threats and pressure. Since the church refused to marry them, they got married in a simple civil ceremony. Then they went to Botswana. Ordinary people welcomed them as heroes. But the regent, the prince's uncle, immediately demanded the marriage be cancelled. He called a council of elders to remove Seretse from power for breaking tradition. And then something incredible happened. Even though they had agreed in advance, the tribal chiefs refused to remove Seretse from the throne. This showed deep respect for the Khama dynasty and for Seretse himself. The council declared Seretse the new king, and his white wife Ruth became the queen. This story could have ended with a happy ending. But then came the betrayal, and it came from the British government. At that time, Botswana was a protectorate of the British Empire, and its leaders were expected to follow orders from London. In 1950, King Seretse was called to Britain for consultations and travelled there with his wife, but they weren't allowed to return. the young couple was kept in England and banned from going back to Africa for the next 6 years. Black tribal leaders sent a petition directly to Queen Elizabeth II, demanding that their leader be allowed to return home. Britain could not ignore this. Seretse and Ruth returned to Botswana in triumph. By then, the couple already had 2 children, 6-year-old Jacqueline and 3-year-old Ian, both born in London. 2 years after they came back to Botswana, Ruth gave birth to twins, Anthony and Shekedi. For a while, life became happy and peaceful for the royal family, but again, the story didn't end there. Once again, Seretse shocked everyone. He gave up the throne, but he didn't do it to walk away from politics. He did it to go even deeper into it. Africa was changing fast. Countries were fighting to end colonial rule and build modern republics instead of monarchies. In 1961, Seretse started the Democratic Party and became its leader. 4 years later, he won national elections by a landslide and became the Prime Minister. In 1966, he led Botswana to full independence from Britain. That was when the country officially got its modern name, Botswana, which means the land of the Tswana people, Seretse's own tribe. At the time, Botswana was in a terrible condition. It was one of the 3 poorest countries in the world. There were no paved roads, no real infrastructure, and most people couldn't read or write. Seretse made it his mission to change that. For the next 15 years, he fully dedicated himself to building the nation. Under his leadership, Botswana became one of the most successful countries in Africa. People even called it the Golden Age of Botswana. Seretse focused on the country's natural wealth. He launched dozens of mining projects to extract diamonds, copper, nickel, and other valuable resources. By his side was Ruth, the woman he loved, his loyal partner, and his best friend. She was deeply involved in the country's political life, earned huge respect, and inspired admiration. Even though Ruth spent the rest of her life far from her native England, she never forgot her roots. She remained faithful to British traditions. She wore elegant English clothes, classic skirts and blouses, and Sunday tea was a must in their family. Together with his devoted wife, Seretse fulfilled the dream he had as a young man. He brought Botswana out of poverty and into modern times. In the late 1970s, he was being considered for the Nobel Peace Prize, but fate had other plans. In 1980, Botswana's founding father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. The disease progressed quickly, and he passed away that same year in Ruth's arms. She never remarried. 22 years later, she died a widow. Ruth managed to raise their 4 children and guide them through life. The youngest son, Ian, was elected Botswana's 4th president in 2008, continuing his father's legacy. Shekedi and Anthony also went into politics, and their daughter Jacqueline became a university professor in education. The great love story of Ruth and Seretse changed Southern Africa forever. They stood up to the system and became true people's leaders. Most of all, they proved that real love can break down any barrier, even racial ones. So what do you think of this brave woman who left everything behind to follow her heart into a foreign land? Share your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.